Apparently, he had his first official rally in South Carolina. He's looking to get on the ballot in North Charleston, South Carolina, and he had a rally and didn't look like it went so well, okay? So let's look at this clip, and this is him being very vulnerable. Again, I don't want to, get into judging this man or where he's at or what's going on with him personally or some of the other statements I made. I want to specifically address this video right here, which is him making some very, serious revelations that I didn't know about him. So this is on Twitter. It's all over Twitter. So let me just play this clip. I'll do my best to react to it.
My mom saved my life. My dad wanted to abort me.
So that's first of all, that's crazy to think about. He said, my mom saved my life. My dad wanted to, wow. Like, who would have thought, right? Who would have thought that is what was, that could have happened to Kanye West? Now, regardless of where you think he's at politically or what your opinion is on his mental health, by and large, I think Kanye West makes amazing art. I think he makes amazing shoes. And I think he has very inspirational ideas. For me personally, I've been a fan. I'm biased, just so you guys know. I like Kanye. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about everything he's about, but I like Kanye. I love the fact that he came to Jesus. He's doing this rally. He makes this statement, which is like pretty wild to think about. Now let's keep going.
My mom saved my life. There would have been no Kanye West because my dad was too busy.
That's heavy. He said his dad was too busy. Sheesh, this gives me goosebumps. He breaks down his crime. By the way, he got a super fly haircut, guys. I'm very impressed. I think it says 2020. Wow, who would have thought? Like, I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? This is like super heavy. He said, I almost killed my daughter. Whew! Wow. Okay, this is heavy. Okay, he talks about him almost not making it. I don't want to say the bird because they'll probably demonetize it. And then he says, I almost killed my daughter. So what's happening in that clip is Kanye makes the personal statement that I didn't know about him, which is that his dad didn't want to have him. And him and his dad are real close now. His dad is I believe, a Christian marriage counselor, Christian psychologist. Kanye has since came to faith in Jesus. He's now married to Kim Kardashian, and he makes this statement. He makes two wild statements. One, he said he almost didn't make it. His dad was too busy, didn't want to have him, didn't want his mom to have him, right? Then he juxtaposes that with, I almost killed my daughter. He's talking about his daughter, North, right? His oldest daughter. And basically saying how they almost, him and Kim, was going to take a morning after pill or something of the sort, right? And granted, he's emotional. There's a lot going on, but I feel him. Like I feel the parallels here, right? Now, I would never, I don't know what that's like to go through. I know people who have done that, and I know people who regret doing that. And it's always a wild juxtaposition if you've gone through that, or if you've gone through that and then you had kids after, or if you almost did that and then had the kid. Like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? Like, what a wild thing to think about, that this person may have not been here if you would have had and done that act, right? Now, so that's what it is. So I have no issues with someone like Kanye coming out. And again, I'm not going to comment on the rest of the video. I saw that was vulnerable. It was really, really hard to watch, if I'm honest. I don't know where his mental state is at. I don't know what all he's going through, this president run. Maybe he was just vulnerable and being emotional in the moment. Maybe he was having a manic episode. I don't know. Okay. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is that someone like Kanye can say, hey, I identify with this position because I almost went through it, and I identify, and I'm going to tell you guys that, like, yo, this whole this act isn't a good look, right? It's not a good look because it almost happened to me, and in like repeating this, I almost did it to my daughter, right? And it's like, whoa, like I would understand that he has, like, that's a heavy emotional point. You know what I'm saying? I get it, and so I'm not mad at that. So how does this all connect, right? How does it all connect? Currently, there is and I think, by the way, I think Kanye, as a black man, as a conservative or a liberal, as a whatever, has every right to hold that position of being pro-life, right? I think he holds that position fairly. I lean in that position. I hold that position as well. We've talked about it on the channel, and this isn't to unpack whether or not it's a sin or whatever. I'm not going to get into that. But what I'm going to say is that I think he has every right to hold that position. I think anybody has that right to hold that position, and I think that's fine. That's fine and dandy. Now, right now, what's happening is, in the context of the protest, in the context of Black Lives Matter, right? There's this divide happening, and there's this like boogeyman response of cultural Marxism. I'm sure you've seen this. I'm sure you've watched videos, or somebody have sent you a video of, you know, popular pastors preaching on cultural Marxism. I'm going to explain what cultural Marxism is, right? And what it's doing is, like, it's this like dismissive, look at this clever answer I got for you on why you shouldn't say Black Lives Matter, because the organization has some people that are identified as trained Marxists, and they want to dismantle the Western nuclear family unit. I don't endorse any of that. I think that's trash. I don't rock with the organization when they want to talk about that. But the movement is a broader movement. It's a sentiment to say Black Lives Matter. And so I'm going to tie this all in, because I'm going to give you guys the history and the roots of the pro-life movement, right? With a movement that we would say, yeah, I understand why people of all ethnicities and all backgrounds can hold this position of being pro-life. Totally with that. Now, Kanye is pro-life. I'm pro-life, right? Cool. So, but it's this dismissiveness of like, you know, Black Lives Matter? No, cultural Marxist, right? And it's like, well, what does that even mean? So let's look up what the definition of cultural Marxism is. Cultural Marxism is political correctness is cultural Marxism. It is Marxism translated from economic into cultural terms. It is an effort that goes back not to the 1960s and the hippies and the peace movement, but back to World War I, to the cultural Bolshevisms, right? The Frankfurt School. Now, this is Germany, and there's a school, and then they come over and they get these ideas of political correctness and just really trying to maneuver the culture in a way that isn't our Western prescribed culture, right? Now, what is political correctness? Political correctness is the avoidance, often considered as taking to the extremes, of forms of expression or action that are perceived to exclude, marginalize, or insult groups of people who are socially disadvantaged or discriminated against them, right? What does that mean? I know that's a whole lot. Just stay with me. I promise you I'm going to glue this all together. Just stay with me. Don't go anywhere. Okay. So political correctness is saying, hey, like, we're going to be sensitive to other people's needs. But then the extreme of political correctness is when you stop saying Merry Christmas and you start having to say Happy Holidays. And then countries are like, yo, we're being politically correct, or America's like, we're politically correct, so we can't say Merry Christmas. We're going to say Happy Holidays, right? And then someone like Trump gets elected and he's like, we're going to say Merry Christmas now that, I'm president, right? So hopefully you guys are following what I'm saying. So political correctness, cultural Marxism, it's basically, people will call it multiculturalism, and the things that are tied into it is it's connected to intersectionality, critical race theory. You guys could Google all these things, right? It's a lot there, right? And they blame or kind of ascribe the root of some of these issues back to this Frankfurt School, all the way back in Germany before World War II. Then they came over to Columbia, and it's our modern sociology, liberal studies type of ideology, right? Now, some of this stuff I don't have a problem with. Some of it I do have a problem with. I'm not with dismantling the nuclear Western family. I don't think that's helpful. I think the best place for us to thrive as humans is to grow up in a home with a mom and a dad, right? I think that's a good thing, right? I'm not just for dismantling family units or whatever, right? I'm not for catering to every single minority to the point where we don't say Merry Christmas, we say Happy Holidays. I don't think there's anything wrong with Merry Christmas. I think the majority of us would say there's nothing wrong with Merry Christmas. So people would say, hey, Black Lives Matter, bad, because they're affiliated with cultural Marxism. Cultural Marxism wants to dismantle Christianity. It's evil, bad, 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 bad. Then the logical conclusion goes, well, if you are pro-Black Lives Matter sentiment, you are then endorsing and you're a asymptomatic cultural Marxist, right? And which is a wild assessment, to say that because I'm willing to go to a Black Lives Matter rally and I'm willing to say, hey man, I think there's some issues with our society and racism infesting certain structures and systems. And I think sometimes that based on how these police unions are set up, that it's a great haven for racists to go and hide. And then it kind of bleeds out and they could be more aggressive against people of color. And there's little accountability. We need to change that. We need to pass things like 8 Can't Wait. I think 8 Can't Wait, Google that, great solution. I think reevaluating qualified immunity, great solution. Should we get rid of... You didn't dismiss all those people and say, no. These are cultural Marxist ideologies. How dare you say that Black Lives Matter because that's an endorsement of an organization that represents cultural Marxism. It's like, whoa. No. I'm a Christian. I love Jesus, right? And I don't know how many times myself, Derek Minor, Lecrae, have to repeatedly say that, listen, we are not endorsing the organization's value in this regard. We're just saying the sentiment, Black Lives Matter, everybody should rally behind that. And I almost feel like it's vindictive in the sense that, like, listen, Black Lives Matter. No, all lives matter. Well, if all lives matter, then Black Lives Matter. You got me there. Then it's like, hey, Black Lives Matter. Well, what about black on black crime? Listen, black on black crime's a myth. It doesn't exist because we don't talk about white on white crime, right? I made a whole video about this. Look at the statistics. Oh, okay. Gosh, dang, you got me there. Black Lives Matter. Cultural Marxist. You're a cultural Marxist. And nobody really know what this definition means. It's this weird boogeyman definition that like we keep throwing out there and we think they're so clever. And so I just wanted to make this video for my own sake because I know I'm going to get some of you in my DMs. I'm just going to send you this video. It's ridiculous to dismiss everybody who's affiliated with a movement as a cultural Marxist. And you know how I heard about this? I heard about this from Sho Baraka in like 2014, 2015. He was the first one that told me like, yeah, man, Black Lives Matter. I like the sentiment. I don't like the organization. I don't like their leadership. I don't like their cultural Marxists and some of their values, they're trained Marxists. Now, me, guys, I come from socialism, okay? I come from communism. I'm a refugee. I'm an immigrant. I'm Armenian. I am not against the dismantling of private property rights. I am not against the dismantling of religious freedom or taking away people's Second Amendment or capitalism. I think this is like, out of everything globally, I think this is the best thing. I don't think it's flawed, but I think this is the best thing, and I think we need to make adjustments and we need to make tweaks to it. And I think if Colin Kaepernick speaks about it, that's good. I think he's a patriot for speaking, or whoever, right? So we keep using these boogeyman ideas. Now, how does this tie in? I'm going to get to it. Just be patient with me. Now, cultural Marxism. We're dismissing people and we're just lumping everybody. Broad generalities are the epitome of ignorance. You're dismissing everybody and you're putting everybody in this camp. Even though I hold some conservative values, yet I agree with the sentiment that Black Lives Matter. Now you're going to dismiss me and you're going to tell me that I'm using cultural Marxist solutions, even though I'm not for the dismantlement of the nuclear family or whatever these other solutions that are being proposed. It's us versus them. Instead of saying, where's the nuance? Where can we have this conversation? If you're talking about, hey, black on black crime, what are you doing about black on black crime? Or is it just like a zinger, gotcha, right? So let's talk about the history of the religious right. Some of you guys may not know this, but there was a gentleman named Paul Weyrich. You guys should Google him. Paul Weyrich. Paul Weyrich was, gasp, a segregationist. Okay? He's a segregationist. Did you guys know that? So Paul, the segregationist, he wants to keep schools segregated. This is in the late 60s, early 70s. Abortion gets passed in 1973. It didn't become a hot topic issue. Jerry Falwell, these leaders of the religious moral right, didn't start preaching about it until 1979, 1978, when they were trying to get a evangelical Democrat, Jimmy Carter, out of office in replacement of who? Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan wasn't an evangelical, but he kind of acted like he was, and people still esteem him for his trickle-down economics, all these different things. So they take this issue of abortion, which again was legal for like 5 or 6 years, and they knew they couldn't get the country to get behind segregation anymore. They knew they lost that war, specifically Paul. So what did he do? He kept trying to find a new issue, and then he said, ha ha, we're going to get after this abortion issue. We're going to use the abortion issue as a us versus them scapegoat, even though, do your Googles, even though the Southern Baptist Convention didn't recognize abortion as a sin initially. Catholics viewed it as a sin, right? This isn't an argument of whether it's a sin or not. I'm just giving you guys the history. So he takes this issue. He knew that segregation wasn't going to give him the clout that he wanted, even though he was racist and he was a segregationist, and there were schools, Christian schools, that were pro-segregation. He hijacked and took this issue of abortion, made it a front issue, and guys like Jerry Falwell started preaching about it. And they ended up using it as the main issue to get Ronald Reagan elected. I don't think there's anything wrong with a black person being pro-life. I don't think there's anything wrong with being pro-life. But imagine if every time, and there are people that do this, imagine that every time somebody came out as pro-life, whether it was Kanye, whether it was me, whoever, and we attached all of the history of the religious right being racist in its root and segregationist in its root, and we attached all of that history and said, oh, now you're a racist because you're pro-life, because you know Paul Wayrick, he was racist and he was a segregationist and he was against. How silly does that sound? We would never dismiss anybody who comes out of the pro-life movement as being racist. We would say, no, this is its own issue. Yeah, there's different solutions for it. There's some pro-life folks that take it to the extreme and go blow up abortion clinics. That's not right. And then there's pro-life people that are like, yo, I'm going to do everything I can to empower people so that they have babies, so that we don't diminish the life here, right? And I think that's fine. And there's people that want to protest, and there's people that adopt kids and become foster. There's all kinds of different ways of dealing with it if you're a pro-life issue. But imagine if everybody that was pro-life completely blew them out of the water and said, you're a racist. And that is what some of you guys are doing with this goofy cultural Marxist rebuttal. You're dismissing and you're lumping everybody in as an endorser of the organization instead of saying, when I say Black Lives Matter, I'm not endorsing the organization, I'm endorsing the sentiment. And like my man Preston Perry said, that is a biblical Christ-centered view to say, hey, these people are being disenfranchised. There's a huge wealth gap. These people have been slaves, never got reparations. We need to do something about it. Black Lives Matter. It's as deep as that. You don't need to attach me to some cultural Marxist ideology, which I repeatedly keep on denying and not aligning myself with. The rest of everything I represent is about personal responsibility and entrepreneurship. Why? What's the point? The point is that you want to exclude it and make it a boogeyman issue instead of actually addressing the nuance of what's going on with these social issues. Instead of actually saying, is there a disproportion? The way the police union's set up, are they safe havens for these racist people to go into and not be held accountable? Qualified immunity, all these different laws, right? And so these are the same things they said about Martin Luther King. By the way, they called him a Marxist when he was alive, right? They called him a Marxist when he was alive. These are the same things that they're going to keep saying about people they don't agree with, right? And I'm not saying that there shouldn't even be a day. If I say Black Lives Matter and I'm pro-life, the end of it. That should be the end of it. Don't attach me to the toxic history of the religious right, and don't attach me to the organization Black Lives Matter, because I don't have to endorse everything that comes along with neither of those organizations or those movements. I'm saying Black Lives Matter as the sentiment. And we really got to stop being so binary and looking for the nuance in some of these things, because we're so black and white, us versus them. You know, all lives matter versus Black Lives Matter. If all lives matter, then Black lives have to matter. What are you talking about? So I make this video simply because I'm tired of you guys sending me these stupid cultural Marxist rebuttals. It's dumb. And I would never attach all the racist history that is rooted in the religious right to someone that wants to go and protest abortion today. I wouldn't do that. I would never ascribe Kanye and say, Kanye, you're really racist because of the. No. This is an issue. I see issues with the way policing is done, and I think those need to change. And I'm saying, can't wait. Reasonable solutions. Google them. Of course, you guys aren't Googling this stuff. Those of you guys that got your mind made up, you're not looking at can't wait. You're not looking at the crack versus coke disparity that happened in the 80s. You're not looking at the CIA allowing crack and cocaine to flood the streets and being complicit and admitting to being complicit. You're not looking at the Fair Sentencing Act that was passed in 2010 that changed the disparity. You're not looking at the fact that Alabama didn't end the ban on interracial marriage until the year 2000. You're just, systemic racism doesn't exist. Black Lives Matter is a cultural Marxist. Zero nuance, zero desire to understand, zero desire to have dialogue. And that's kind of a bummer because I talk to people all the time that I disagree with. I talk to people, and I don't, again, you can say Black Lives Matter without endorsing the organization. You can say I'm pro-life and abortion's not a dope idea without endorsing everything the religious right started in the roots of it. Why must we be so binary? Because we want to dismiss each other and we want to get a one-up and we want to shut each other up because we disagree? Because that's whack. That's trash, fam. Like you're not caring to actually listen or learn anything. You just want to argue your point. And I'm about just scales here. So I'm quick to correct my white brothers and sisters when they throw out this nonsense of all lives matter and whatever. Like, yo, fam. And this isn't even to say that like all black people endorse Black Lives Matter. I know a lot of black people, friends of mine, who don't rock with the sentiment or the organization. And they have the freedom to do that. And we'll disagree on that. But to say, yo, this and that, and you got to take it all or nothing, it's just silly. It's stupid. Like, have more nuance. Listen to people. Educate yourself. You don't believe that this is wrong in terms of what's happening with law enforcement? Do some more research. Do some more Googles. Look at the disparities, right? And if you come to the conclusion, then that's your prerogative, whatever. But don't assume that anybody who says Black Lives Matter is now a cultural Marxist endorsing the disruption of the nuclear Western. No, none of that. I'm a capitalist. I'm an entrepreneur, fam. I'm about empowering people to build generational wealth. I'm about empowering people to seek after God and live the best life that they can have by living God's way, by repenting of your sin. That's what I'm about. Don't lump me in with all these other things in the alphabet people and this whole thing. Don't do that. That's dumb. That's lacking nuance and lacking understanding. And so those are my thoughts, man. I don't know what you guys think. I think we need to spend way more time listening to each other, way more time talking to each other. And if you don't want to endorse any movement, you don't have to. That's not my prerogative. I don't care. But just don't lump me in with something that I'm not about. That's all I'm saying. I would never lump somebody in who's pro-life as, man, well, you're racist because those people are racist. In the same way, when I say Black Lives Matter, don't lump me in with everybody who is a cultural Marxist trying to dismantle the nuclear family. Don't do that. That's stupid. Don't do that. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to your other friends. That's not a good argument. That's not a great way to have a conversation. Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Z. Respect other people's opinions even if you disagree with them. How about that? How about we just agree to disagree, right? And you guys could disagree with this video and I won't be mad at you. You could disagree, fam. It's all good. It's all good. Give this video a thumbs up if you will. And listen, I don't endorse a lot of these things that you guys are ascribing to. So stop dismissing people. Stop trying to shut people up with zingers. Ha! What about cultural Marxism? Ha! What about black on black crime? Ha! Right? No. We can talk about all these things, right? We talk about all these things, but it doesn't make you right and it doesn't make me wrong. It's just my position. I don't know. What y'all think?